Hey guys, I'm back with the second part of the video today, and I'm really sorry that I couldn't make it happen any earlier. So, without making you wait any further, let's get started with the second part where I will be showing you how I plant some of the plants and also show you that how do I diffuse the CO2 through a power filter. For this tank today, I have Echinoderus tenellus, two types of Liliopsis, a few Starogyne repens, and one Alternanthera reneki stem, a small one. To start with, we are going with the Echinoderus tenellus first. For this plant, we first need to hold all its roots with a forceps or a tweezer and then gently push it into the sand and bend it towards the end so that the friction between the sand and the root is more, which will in turn prevent the plant from getting uprooted. Forgot to mention that you need to keep the roots like 1 inch to 1.5 inch to the least so that you can put them deep enough and prevent from uprooting. As for the tweezer goes, I like to use a pointed one so that the disturbance to the substrate while planting the plants can be kept at minimum, which in turn helps in easy plantation. Now I will go ahead and finish planting all the tenellus I have, and then we will move on to Alternanthera reniki. While planting, you might find two plants connected by a runner. So to plant them, you need to get hold of the roots together and plant them like you plant a single plant. For the plantation of Starogyne ribbons, there isn't actually much to show since their stems are already rough and they stick to the substrate. This is for the submerged plants, not for the immersed. For the immersed plants, it is similar to the Reineke, which I will be doing in a bit. Now I will be planting the only Alternanthera renegi stem I have, and for that I will be cutting down the lower leaves by 70% while leaving 30% attached to the stems so that they can act as an anchor while the stem is put into the substrate. I follow this method mostly for all the stems that are smooth on the outer side, so the anchor thing helps a lot to keep the stem planted into the substrate. Now we will be planting Liliopsis nova zealandii. This is a carpeting plant and it propagates through chains. So in order to plant this plant, we will break the chain into smaller pieces like 2 nodes at a time so that we can plant it easily. Otherwise, 3 or 4 nodes at a time, it makes very difficult to plant. So I'm gonna cut it into smaller sections now so that I can plant it later easily. For planting Nova Zealandii, I will just put it into the sand and that should do the job. The next plant I'm gonna plant is Liliopsis brasiliensis, and this is very similar to the last plant that I planted, that is Nova Zealandii. So I'm just gonna repeat the same steps I did for Nova Zealandii. I generally use internal power filters for my smaller tanks for the reason that it is low in power consumption plus it has a good flow rate, which is important for any planted tank. But as the stock comes, I do not use it just like that. I generally modify the filter media with the aftermarket sponge or scrub pads we get for the top filters, because in terms of efficiency they are way ahead of the black sponges that the companies provide in the sales package. So I just go for them. The white pipe that you can see going into the filters chamber is for carrying CO2 to the filter's impeller for diffusion. Since it is a power filter, so the diffusion is quite good and the flow also helps in carrying the diffused CO2 bubbles into the whole tank. So it is very easy for me to work with them rather than using diffusers and then using separate flow makers to circulate the CO2 bubbles throughout the tank. Now I will just attach the white pipe to the bubble counter. For CO2, I am using a portable CO2 generator which is based upon the reaction between citric acid and baking soda, and it is also known as DIY pressurized CO2. Just started the filter and looks like it's working good. So this is how the tank is looking for now, and I hope in a couple of months the tank will fill up greatly for the 10 at least, if nothing else. Since the light is very low, like 18 watts only, so I don't think that the liliopsis is gonna kick much of a growth. So I am just keeping them aside for future when I have another tank for dedicated to them. But for this tank, I'm just concentrating on the 10ls. So I hope they will be doing fine in the due time. The light on this tank is just 18 watts or 1800 lumens, and it is a DIY one made out of a LED bulb because I don't like the spread of the LED bulbs. So I gave it a linear structure to have more uniform spread throughout the tank. So my friends, 2 months has gone by and this is the present status of the tank. In the meanwhile, I added some other plants like Pinnatifida and some other ferns and some Trapeatida mini recently. But for the TNLs, I'm really happy that it grew so much. So thank you for watching and I hope you have enjoyed and learned something new today. Thank you.